the ambulance drivers, they were listening to rock classics, Jimi Hendrix and The Who, etc., on the radio. So the picture reflected all of that. Most of all, it's the way the music comes at you. For me, the only piece of music that would supplement the actual meaning of the film was Van Morrison's TB Sheets, which is a bluesy number in a way, but it has to do with a young woman dying of tuberculosis and talking about foreign bodies and talking about slipping and sliding through the night. Elmer Bernstein helped with the music in the film, but primarily I imagined the film to TB Sheets, as I did Taxi Driver, by the way.
When the midnight chill into the wee small office.
In Taxi Driver, I had originally in mind TB Sheets before I went to bed on Herman. And here, I was actually utilize the song itself over the credits. As a harmonica comes in, it cuts the ambulance turning into the frame, barreling down head on as we pull back, and then Nick's eyes behind the wheel, and it's the beginning of the nightmare. All those cuts and all those moves into cutting with the titles of the film in the beginning were designed to the music.
I was good at my job. There were periods where my hands moved with a speed and skill beyond me. But in the last year, I'd started to lose that control. Things had turned bad. I hadn't saved anyone in months. I just needed a few slow nights, followed by a couple of days off.
I recall that The Galleys was sent to me by Scott Rudin. And that's when I first read the book. I connected with it right away. First of all, it takes place in New York. That's one thing. And I immediately was connected to the character of Frank because he's the EMS driver and medic, and he helps people in the street, but he's a wreck personally. And the city comes at the character of Frank like a series of hallucinations, rough and violent and discontinuous. And there's a great deal of dark humor in the piece, too, which I thought was extraordinary. Very much like you'd find the humor in Soldiers in a War, or something by Robert Graves and Goodbye to All That, or which really puts you in a combat situation, which I think Frank and many of the other characters in the piece are.
Mary, it's two hands. It's my dad.
I didn't know exactly where it was going to go, and as we started to shoot sequences, I was playing a lot with downlights and dimming. For example, when Burke is in the house, he's had a heart attack and he goes on the floor. Well, how do you shoot this? And way back when I was doing JFK, I would use top lights. It wouldn't always hit, but they'd hit the table. So if you had a piece of paper, you could increase. So the actor could begin to define for you themselves, like they want to be lit, they don't want to be lit. And so it took the light and used that kind of concept and hit the body of Burke so that he could move in and out of the bounce up, remove himself a little bit. And I did some dimming on the rear walls to be able to take the wall down as it went into the space that is described within the film.
Clear, clear.
I was someone that was transported by Taxi Driver, by Raging Bull in high school, by Goodfellas, Cape Fear, King of Comedy. These movies made me want to continue on my path to be a screen actor. So when he did invite me, it was a dream, literally a dream come true. And I said yes immediately. He said later during the shoot, well, you know, I hired you because your uncle wanted me to, he said, Nicky wants to work with you, you got to cast him. That one threw me for a loop. But Scorsese to me as a man is kind, he is generous. He knew I was a fan of Anton Walbrook, and he would show me Michael Powell movies in his cinema in Manhattan. He was his own projectionist, which is really something to behold, to watch Martin Scorsese thread the film in his own projectors. It was like being in a fantasy land, being in Martin Scorsese's screening room in Manhattan.
Mary's world it's a difficult time right now for her because I think she hasn't had resolution in her relationship with her father. So all of a sudden she's sort of trying to see a bigger picture about her whole feelings about her father, and you know, how could she reconcile everything that never got a chance to be said.
John, play the Sinatra. Play the Sinatra.
I think she was always sort of a girl with a lot of spirit, and her and her father maybe are too much alike in a way. So they started clashing pretty early on. Even though her father really adored her, he invested a lot in her, and just the neighborhood she grew up in and the friends she grew up in. And she had been a junkie and explored drugs and things like that. And she'd overdosed before, so she doesn't understand really why somebody would, you know, have a family, work hard their whole life, scrape by, and then this happened to them, so.
Bringing out the dead? Well, it's a reference to the plague years, when people would go around with carts yelling, "Bring out your dead," and then they'd go cremate them. I think it's the attitude Joe probably had about his job after a while, or the character in the book. Cart him out, we'll try to fix him, maybe we can't. It's on a lot of levels what the city does to a human being, what we do to each other, and trying to help you get a person that cares a great deal, and what it does to him after a while.
I went to the EMS Academy out in Fort Totten, Queens. So you're out there for about 5 weeks, and then they give you the keys to an ambulance in East Harlem, and you're sent off. I mean, there were a number of reasons why I wrote the book, and I guess the main one was to sort of save the lives of the people I couldn't by writing them down. You know, you lose a lot more than you save. And again, that's what, probably more than anything else, what got me to write this thing. What interested me right from the start was what it looked like to have somebody like Frank, who has absolutely no walls between him and the suffering, who feels everything. The thing about Frank is that he's completely lost all support. He's got no support system. You know, he's got no wife anymore to go back to. His partners are all nuts, and he's looking for that way out.
Nobody loves me, Gris.
Hey, Gris just telling you things are backing up.
Gris, let us in.
Whatever you say.
Joe Connelly had that job, and a lot of the book was his first-hand experiences. And so I treated it more as raw material rather than someone creating a fictional world, someone who has used fictional elements in the real world. And then I did a fair amount of research on my own. I rode a bus for about a week, the bus being the slang for the EMS truck. And remember one day we picked up the bottom half of a torso at a subway station while a different bus picked up the top half of the station down. So that was a chance that really enabled me to get into the world that Joe Connelly had lived in, you know, to get really firsthand kind of vibe, that the adrenaline that flows.
See that? A man like you's not gonna deny a poor, sick, dying, helpless man a small cup of water, would you?
I can't. I have to stay with my patient.
I was in town here one night to see my wife, Mary Beth Hurt. She was a hospital ER nurse ordering people around. So I went down to see her work and to see Marty. But I was, I have to admit, sort of taken back by the ambitiousness of the production. Richardson had lit up almost 5 blocks. And the last time I had been with Scorsese on a set at night in New York was After Hours, when he was complaining he didn't have any money to do anything. They gave him a big bucket of Christmas toys and he's going to use them all.
Now, I've already told you two to step back. Please, mister. Now, look, don't make me take off my sunglasses.
Let's get this guy on the morning. First-time heart attack, age 45. You should have gone to CCU 10 hours ago. We got 3 bodies up there, just like the one you brought in. Over there, 2
Coming into a project like this, if you can imagine, it can be extremely intimidating. I remember my first scene was, they closed off all of 8th Avenue, and it was a big scene with Nick and John Goodman, and there's Marty, and I'm walking onto the set, and it's like, you know? the first thing you ask yourself is like, what did I get myself into? You know, it's like, can I pull this off? You know, I'm a fraud. Oh my God, you know, everybody's gonna see that. And but he has a way of just saying, hey, you know, it's not the end of the world. If you have questions, he's always willing to answer them.
Oh, man, doctor, man, you're the greatest, man. You got to help me, man.
For God's sake, can you give this guy a
No,
drink
I
of
am
water?
helping you, okay? You drink any more water, you could die.
Noel doesn't have a medical condition. It was because he was shot in the head. So how do you study someone like that? How do you go to a mental institution and find someone who happens to be crazy because of a physical injury? For instance, I was walking through the park and there was just this guy just sitting there, just mumbling to himself and just stuck in one position, just stuck. And I just stopped. Hold on a second, I want to see where he takes this. And after 45 minutes of just him doing the same thing, I was just, all right, so it is possible for nothing to happen. And I used that in a couple of scenes. On several occasions, I'm driving by in my car and I see somebody just, you know, just ranting and raving and just like, oh, stop. I want to see where he takes this. Does he look in a garbage can, or is he that kind of sick, or is he, you know what I'm saying? So it's like 2 months of that.
It's me, Mary Burke, 49th Street.
Oh, Mary. Noel has to work a little. It's not like he can see something and, you know, and connect. Every scene that I have with Patricia, with Mary Burke, she has to remind me of things. She says certain things that pulls me back. Noel, it's Mary. Remember Mary? Used to live with me, and so it cost a little work for him to like, oh yeah, you know, to find that place. But he loves her. He loves her. She equals warmth, you know. The only warmth that he remembers.
Sure. My father's dying now.
Oh, Mary, Mary, Mary.
I'd always wanted to work with Nick, and when I read this, the face I saw was his face, his eyes. You know, and I read the galleys of this thing. He really isn't like any other actor. I mean, there's constantly, I feel, there's a conflict in his eyes and in his face and in his gestures. That's a spiritual conflict. I just feel it, whether he's playing in Wild at Heart or in Bringing Out the Dead. I mean, you know, the question comes to mind when I look at him as if he's saying, can I be redeemed? Will I be redeemed? Have I done enough? Which, of course, for me, was the character of Frank. The only person I felt immediately who could handle this, Joe Connelly's book, was Paul Schrader. He understands the concept, I think, compassion, but he also understood how a man like Frank could feel that he's been cut off from the life force, so to speak, and also his pride. And what's great about Paul, you know, he's got this extraordinary sense of structure, and he edits on the page. You know, compresses on the page. He goes right to the heart of the matter on the page, and by keeping only 3 of his co-workers, as opposed to some of the others in the book, the characters were played by John Goodman, Ving, Rhames, and Tom Sizemore. We lost some of the episodes I had liked, but we were able to preserve the most powerful scenes, I think. And he was talking about merging the 2 female characters, Rose and Mary, making them one person at the end of the picture. And I like the idea. I thought immediately that was the way to go. It's a little different, and certainly different in the novel.
I got a call from Marty when they were in rehearsals, and he said, would you talk to this guy, Nick Cage? He doesn't get it. So we had dinner, and I tried to explain to him that kind of stories I like to tell is that the main character brings the viewer up to the doorway, and then the viewer walks through. Well, Nick Cage never met a doorway that he didn't get through first. And every instinct in his bones, I've done 2 films with Nick, every instinct with him is a bull to just charge at a problem and not to recede from it and let the power of recession instigate movement by others.
Marty is a genuinely kind man. Paul, he don't give a shit, you know. He tells whatever he just says it. I mean, he's gruff, he's callous, he just tells it, you know. And so I came over to dinner and Scorsese was there, and Paul showed up. And Paul, he was drinking his whiskey, and he was just smiling like this, you know, across the table. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then Paul just laid into me, like, well, you know, you can't throw your pearls before swine. Don't throw your pearls before swine. And he gave me all his notes, like, you know, I want this character to not be obvious, keep it mysterious, keep it enigmatic. It will give it a longer shelf life. So these were also good notes. But I didn't get those notes from Scorsese. I got those notes from Schrader.
The eyes of a corpse, the screams of a loved one. All bodies leave their mark. You cannot be near the newly dead without feeling it.
New York's a great co-star. We've been out in Times Square for most of the shoot at night, meeting very interesting people who offer their suggestions at times and yell stuff at us. The chance to work with Nick Cage again, to work with Martin Scorsese. I love New York. I lived here for 14 years and had a great time. It's the perfect time of year to be here. It's wonderful to behold and to be a small part of. Yeah, it's great.
And you're back.
Oh!
Ladder 4, respond to a 1022, 6th flight residential, 534 West 32.
Let's do it. It might be a good one.
There are no good fires. People die in fires. People get burned up in fires. People can't breathe.
That's what we're here for. Let's go. 6-3.
Don't push it, Larry.
Well, you're burned out, man. You're scorched.
Not yet, Larry. I'm still burning. If you get any closer, I'm going to put a burn on you.
6-3 Zebra.
They don't really get along too well, but they just kind of deal with each other. My character just doesn't understand Frank at all. Just think he's nuts. And I don't want to go down to Nutsville with him. So I'm just trying to stay afloat and have the odd fried chicken, you know, whatever, or beef lo mein, whatever comes into my mind.
63 Zebra, answer me now or I'm sending a captain to your location.
Frank, when I say don't answer it, that means answer it. You can do me that favor at least. 6-3 Zebra.
Yes, Zebra. You'll be driving to the man who needs no introduction. Chronic Caller of the Year 3 straight and shooting for number 4. The Duke of Drunk, the King of Stink, our most frequent flyer, Mr. O.
10-4. I don't have a real big role, so it was a lot of rehearsal time for me. So I was very grateful to get it and learn how to operate a few of the little gizmos. At one point, we used a dummy to represent a guy who we're trying to revive from a heart attack, and they show us what to. Joe, the guy that wrote the book, would show us what to do. They're based out of a hospital in Hell's Kitchen on 9th Avenue. Actually, we're across the street from where I used to live. You're in with a pretty intense crowd. People getting gunshot wounds, drug overdoses, heart attacks. You're in a nighttime world of narrow tenement halls, dragging people down them on stretchers. The smells from those kitchens, from the sidewalk vendors, the people that you pick up. Some of them are not hygienically correct. It's a different world, and like a cop or a surgeon, you have to deal with it in a certain way with a certain humor, or it will consume you. And the things they see, the things they go through, and the way they affect Frank, which is Nick's character, and they cause him to slip a little bit.
Faster!
Faster?
Come on, Frank, faster!
You want faster?
Oh no, take that stinky ass motherfucking bug-ridden skill out of my face.
Johnny, welcome back. Good to see you.
Martin Scorsese is a great director. I met him about 10 years ago. I was up for another film of his, and I opted to do something else, and then they called me up for this, and I was delighted. He gets a lot out of his actors, and now I can see why people trust him so much. I trust him so much, I'd let him do heart surgery on me. Brings the screen to life. He makes the camera a part of it, and you don't really notice it. He's there, but he's not there. It sounded stupid, but he's a great filmmaker. Nick Cage, he always fascinated me because he was making these very different choices for his character beyond the norm, and they all paid off on screen, and they were very. He was just great to work with, very interesting. He always burrowing about stuff, trying to find a really essential way to say things. We talk some, but I just try to stay out of his way, basically. because he's got a lot. He's got a lot farther to go than I do in this. He's got a deeper ditch to dig. So I just try not to bug him too much.
You never know.
You know, my father and I haven't spoken in 3 years. When my brother called me and said that my father had a heart attack, and then he locked himself in the bathroom, all the way going over there, I was thinking how I was gonna tell him what a bastard he was. I think they're both very sad. They both do care about people. I think in a way that's Frank's downfall, is that he's feeling so much. You know, people get upset with doctors when they're talking over their patients about everyday things, like baseball games or whatever it is, but it's sort of a survival mechanism that Frank's been losing along the way. So he's starting to be so affected by everything. And she's obviously being affected by everything too. And I think in a way he wants to help people so much, and she's in need of help.
Dinner. I will, you heal.
6-2 David, on the corner of 38th and 2, you'll find a 3-car accident. 2 taxis and a taxi. 6-2 Henry, 6-2 Henry, 487 West 22. Report of a very bad smell. No further information.
I had imagined the film seen through the eyes of Frank, which means that, if there's a flash of light on the right of your eye, it creates a certain image. That one moment, edited to another moment, edited to his eyes with lights flashing on his eyes, edited to the wheels of the EMS ambulance, all of this combining to create a kind of impression of what his world is like and how he perceives the world. And I knew Richardson could accomplish that for me and get excited by doing it too. And I knew if I was very, very careful in my designing of shots, which I was, and in particular the inserts, and using different camera speeds, different lenses, not to make it look literal. That was the idea, but to give it a kind of almost liquid impression of what he sees.
You take things way too seriously, Frank.
You ever think of doing anything else?
Sure. Taking my captain's exam next year. And once the kids are in school, Louise can go back to the post office. And I thought, what the hell, I'll start my own medic service. Out on the island, the volunteers are becoming salaried municipal. It's just a matter of time and who you know. Someday it's going to be Chief Larry calling the shots.
I am not your typical choice for a Scorsese movie. I look like a goddamn Margaret Keane painting sometimes with these big eyes, and Bob Richardson's going in with it. I mean, it's almost to the point of, it's a little bit uncomfortable, like absurd. It's like, well, this is not what we normally see in a Scorsese movie. We're talking about Frank Pierce, who is a man who is approaching burnout. He is not sleeping, and I wasn't sleeping. I had 1 day a week custody to see my son, who was in Los Angeles. And every weekend, I would film all night. We were all on night shoots, I don't know how many months, 4 months, whatever it was a long time. Every weekend I would get on the plane, get back to Los Angeles to see my son, and then the next day get back on the plane and fly back. But I used it. I mean, I was wiped out, but that kept that feeling going of burnout.
Zebra, answer the radio. Come on, I got one for you. Pick up the radio and push the button on the side and speak into the front. Come on. Zebra.
Zebra.
Suicidal male bleeding. Corner 44th and 8th. No further information.
10-4.
We have a call, Chief. Somebody's bleeding. 44th and 8th. No, Frank! It's the water. Turn around.
What's the frequency? Can it this
I first became aware of Bringing Out the Dead somewhere in the period of when Marty was making Kundun, and I had finished Casino with Marty. We had a good relationship. Then this came up, And I think probably not many people wanted to shoot it all nights. There were like 70-something days of nights, so it was almost entirely a night shoot. Very complicated. It seemed perfect for me at that time because Marty was looking for something a touch more radical. I was sort of in that zone of films where I was playing a little bit with formats with like JFK, and I was set for U-Turn, I was set for Natural Born Killers. Those worlds were colliding on me, so they were impacting some of my thought patterns on shooting, even working with Errol Morris. So I thought, oh great, radical, a little more, be bold, raw. It was a Technicolor, but it had a reduced palette with more gray in it. So I recommend, because I'd done Snowfall and Cedars, I'd recommended trying a skip bleach process. And I was able to get a print and show it to him, and he thought, this sounds good, and this brings something to it that I'm not completely aware of or prepared for, but I love what it's doing with the colors. And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Man, thank you, man. Wait a minute, how? How are you gonna kill me?
Well, you have a choice. You can have pills, injection, or gas.
Pills. Definitely pills.
Joe Connelly is someone I like very much. He's a young man, and when he wrote that book, it was based on lived experience, and the movie reflects, it's a small village, really. It takes place in a huge metropolis, Manhattan, but it's really just a handful of characters that keep running into one another.
I know you.
You don't know me?
Oh, yes, I do, Pedro.
You don't know me?
I do. I know you. I know him. Well, I think the story is an allegory insofar as it's about good and evil and using Jesus Christ as a mythological figure, as a metaphor for how one gets through life. And how one gets through life is with faith. If you don't have faith, you're in fear. Nick's lost faith in the human condition, in humankind. And through Mary Burke, and even Tom Walls, seeing how far out Tom has gone, how far disconnected he is from faith and God and what is good.
Don't do it, Tom. Tom! I have to take him to the hospital.
The guy has a seizure from crack, 17 times. You get sick of saving his life. Tom Walls expresses that, where, you're not supposed to. He says, listen, guy, one of these times I'm just gonna, spit on you and walk away. Stop smoking crack. I don't know what you gotta do, go to rehab, or you can't, you're poor. Go to City Hall, find out if they have some place for you to go, because I'm tired of saving you. Where Nick's character would think that, but would never, ever express it. It is a wonderful character to play, and it's the best character I've played since Sergeant Horvath in Saving Private Ryan.
1999, New York, is nothing like Joe Connelly's 1990 or late 80s Hell's Kitchen. Because I went on those rides. I probably shouldn't have. I mean, I could have been sued. The biggest moment that happened in the ambulance was, I was in the car, in the wagon, and a radio said a kid's been shot, and we went to some part of town. A young African-American kid was shot through the ass. The doors open. The dad was there. He was like looking like this, like really upset about it. And the kid's in the car, and he's in the wagon. He's chewing gum, and the real paramedics are injecting him and trying to get him sustained so he's not going into shock. And he's still chewing his gum. And I think this poor guy's going to choke. So I said, give me the gum. And I gave him my hand. He put his gum in my hand. But I thought about this, like, I had no business being in those cars, those wagons. We got the rights to do it or somehow, but that was it. That was the only, everything else was quiet and calm.
Fuck. He's not breathing. Call a code.
No, let's go. Go! Fucking Christ.
So here I am. And this junkie got something jammed in his teeth. Now, none of these junkies want to give mouth to mouth. It was a blow dryer. So I pulls it out. His body was cold except for his throat. It had been blow dried for about an hour. Junkie had second-degree burns of the tongue. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever give mouth to mouth?
A long time ago when I was your age, boy. Never again. Chances are you end up with a mouthful of puke. Junkie puke.
I'd do it if I had to, you know, it's part of the job. What about you?
The first film that I saw, I think that Marty directed, was Mean Streets, and I saw it while I was in high school. And what struck me was the richness of the characters, the risk-taking of the director and of the actors, the truth of it, you know. And as an actor and studying the Stanislavski technique of acting, it's about truth. So that, you know, he's my type of filmmaker. Even when I've seen films of his that I didn't necessarily care for, I found him searching for universal truths.
Yeah, it's my brother's problem. That's why he's passed out inside.
That's it! I've had it!
Well, Nicolas really loves the book a lot. We didn't actually choose it as our first thing. What happened was Nicolas signed on to do it, and my agent had read it and said, "You're perfect for this." And I said, "Well, Nicolas is doing this, and I've met with Marty before, and, you know, I'm sure they know I exist, so don't call about it, you know." Because I've always felt like we've wanted to work together, but I always wanted somebody who wanted me and who wanted him, and not either, you know, together as a stunt or me because of him, or they're getting him because I'm in it, or whatever it is. I didn't want any of that awkwardness. So then they said, well, okay, we'll have a reading, you know? So I went and read, and then they offered it to me. Because I never wanted something by association. I only ever wanted anything in my career, my whole life, from my own earning it.
Did you see him?
It wasn't him.
You saw him?
They showed me someone. It wasn't him. It wasn't my husband.
Mrs. Burke will take care of him. We should go home now.
I should know my own husband. They wouldn't let me see him.
I did grow up with a group of friends, and a lot of them did get into drugs and did die from drugs. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so it was a very similar sort of family situation. And then my mother died last year, so I sort of had a lot of unresolved feelings about death and her death, and because I was taking care of her when she was dying, I couldn't really go through the feelings of loss. So when I read this, it really did seem right for me, regardless of Nicolas or anybody else or anything else, really, just for me to express grief.
I think Schrader did a great job transposing the book. Schrader applied a kind of flip side of the coin to Taxi Driver. One movie, Taxi Driver, and Travis Bickle is about a man who has a bloodlust, and he's found a way to get that out towards the end in a violent act of homicide with the excuse that he's cleaning up the city. Conversely, the flip side, Frank Pierce is a man who's in his body almost to the point of it being a condition, a psychological condition, needs to save people. So these are two different trajectories which are still using a narration as a motif, and like Schrader likes to say, a man in his room. Frank Pierce is capable of moments of intense, like Travis Bickle, quietude and introspection, but he's also capable of frantic, manic, especially as we get further into the narrative with Marcus and with Major Tom, to the point of almost absurd comedy, explosion.
It was a very dark movie.
I did not want my character to be dark. He was explained in a book as a very, very fat guy who gave assignments predicated on how much great food you would bring him over the course of a tour, exotic food.
Right.
And I didn't want, I didn't fit that part of it,
Right.
but I also wanted to be funny or lighter. Right. I sat on my couch for 3 days trying to figure out how do I segue from so serious to funny without changing the lines.
Okay.
And after 3 days, I came up with a bark, okay? A bark.
Just a random...
Nobody tells me to fire anybody, ever. I told them, stick it right up your big one. Pardon me.
I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years.
What were the years? What you know?
62 to 70. And when I got done with being in the Marine Corps, then I joined the New York City Police Department. And I spent 21 years and I retired as a second grade detective.
Really?
Yeah. Well, look, it helped me in that when I came to this business, I had no acting experience whatsoever. And as you say, I came in late. I hadn't stepped in front of a camera in my life till I was 46 years old. But unbeknownst to me, I had spent my career as a narcotics division undercover buying drugs for the New York City Police Department.
So you were acting there?
Those were my acting lessons. I had no idea. It turned out it worked out all right, you know?
Even better than that, what was I thinking about? I could forward you some sick time. How about a week?
A week's not gonna do it. A week's not gonna do it.
Cage says, you know, Marty, that bark would go good for my character.
Really?
And Scorsese went, and I went, hey, Nicky, you're Nicky Cage, I'm Marty Nascarella.
Right.
I'm trying to say to you, you eat steak every day. I got a little hamburger helper here. You want that too? Give it a break, will you please?
I can bark too.
Peace, you could do it all. I never said I could bark better than you. Go and help the people of New York. Go ahead. Get out there and mop them up for me. Go ahead. Do your job. Do your job. You're the best.
Put down that crack stem! Put down that crack stem and drop your junk acid! Your high-heeled skirts and your stock dividend! Your patent leather underwear!
Marty's world is quite a bit different from the world I grew up in New York. Most of his films are not dealing with many African-American characters. I grew up in Harlem on 126th Street, so in New York I knew no Italians lived in my neighborhood. Most people, especially non-black people, when I was growing up, if they didn't work in Harlem, there was no need to come to Harlem, except the Apollo Theater maybe, which was a block away from where I grew up. So I grew up in, I'd probably say I didn't see the world that I grew up in on film, except partially in some quote-unquote black exploitation films. And then maybe every now and then I'd see something that was universal in a film like The Learning Tree.
Scientific fact.
I think the worst is over.
Oh no, son. It can always get worse. See, you can't change what's out there. Only where you're coming from. So you gotta let the good Lord, thank you, Jesus, take over in here.
6'2" Young. Let's go, 6'2" Young. Answer the radio.
Hey, Marcus, it's Love. Haven't heard her in months.
Well, no, she only works when I'm on.
He has, for the most part, sort of kept to the kind of gutsy, gritty things he did early on, you know, when he would do them for economic reasons. I did become aware somewhere during the process that this would be the last of our collaborations. Marty was starting to get the feeling that there were two directors in a room. Now, by that time, I'd done 5 or 6 films. And if there are 2 people in the room, only one of them is going to be a director if Marty is in the room. And I could feel the tension in there. I thought to myself, I think this is probably the last one, you know. And there was a profile of me in the New Yorker where the author asked Marty a similar question. I mean, he gave what I thought was a very smart answer. He said that Paul is a precise Dutch miniaturist, and I am a grandiose Italian fresco painter. And it worked when I was doing the miniatures and he was doing the frescoes. But when I started trying to turn him into my kind of director, is when it was time to pick up another writer. But I do remember that it opened and that the box office was not what it should be, and that it was deemed a failure. And I felt that the reviews should have been a little stronger, but I mostly remember them as being good. I tend to remember good reviews. The other ones, very quickly, I just chuck out the window and keep driving.
In '99, when it came out in November, I think it was, it received a few good reviews. People were almost, I think, upset to be laughing along with it, not at it, but along with it. It's a similar thing that happened in Goodfellas.
This week, paramedic Nicolas Cage roams the mean streets of New York in Bringing Out the Dead.
Male dip breather, approximately 30 West End and 72nd.
10-4, I'm coming, baby! Big Santa Marcus is coming!
Nicolas Cage and Ving Rhames are paramedics in a little too much of a hurry in that scene from Martin Scorsese's new film, Bringing Out the Dead. It's one of 5 new movies we'll review this week, and I'm Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm David Poland, the daily columnist from www.roughcut.com. Thanks for having me back in Chicago, Raj.
Yeah, I wanted to have you here in person. You've been attacking my review of Fight Club every day on the web, so...
Well, I love that movie, and you did not.
A lot of people do. Okay,
Yeah.
Our first movie is Bringing Out the Dead, and it's a great film filled with fire and passion that reunites the team of director Martin Scorsese and writer Paul Schrader, the same 2 men who made Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, and The Last Temptation of Christ. Like Taxi Driver, Bringing Out the Dead is about a man on the edge of madness who cruises the night streets of New York trying to bring help to people who don't always want help. His name is Frank, and he's played by Nicolas Cage, and a lot of his work is emergency on-the-job improvisation.
Larry, call for backup.
6-3 Zebra, 1085, 4th whip, 44 and 8.
No, you didn't let me finish. We have rules against killing people on the street, okay? It looks bad. There's a special room at the hospital for terminating. It's a nice, quiet room with a big bed. Mom, stupid!
You mean that?
Yeah.
That's Mark Anthony, is a deranged man who's a regular client. They know him by name. Frank has a different co-pilot every night. One of them is played by John Goodman, who distracts himself from the job with thoughts of his next meal.
Oh, no!
What?
Just remembered I'm so stupid. I had beef lo mein last night. I can't eat the same thing 2 nights in a row.
Frank is way past being burned out, and he keeps trying to quit. The captain threatens to fire him, but never does.
I'll fire you tomorrow. Even better than that. What were they thinking about? I could forward you some sick time. How about a week?
A week's not going to do it. A week's not going to do it. You're saying no. They can do it.
That's Arthur Nascarella, reminding me a little of the dispatcher in Taxi Driver. Patricia Arquette co-stars and is touching as the daughter of a dying man that Frank has brought back to life.
This city, it'll kill you if you're not strong enough.
No, the city doesn't discriminate. It gets everybody.
Bringing Out the Dead doesn't give Frank the relief of being in a story with a beginning and an end. His life is a loop of endless emergencies. Nicolas Cage is right for this role, and Scorsese throws other characters at him to create a disjointed rhythm of the paramedic's endless job. Cliff Curtis is especially effective as the owner of a drug house. Although I've admired Scorsese's recent efforts to break out of his city streets mode in good films like The Age of Innocence and Kundun, Bringing Out the Dead shows him at the top of his form in a powerful film about a man who tries to do the right thing but never seems to get anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's almost as important this week that people go see La Ciudad and Bringing Out the Dead as they avoid body shots in 3 to Tango. They should stay away from those theaters and go see a good movie. Go see Bringing Out the Dead. It'll be in theaters this week.
If they follow our advice, they'll be much happier moviegoers.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
Okay. Remember, you can hear our reviews, both David's and mine, on the web at ebert-movies.com, part of Go Network. Next week, more new movies, including Being John Malkovich, with John Cusack magically entering the Malkovich brain. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Bringing Out the Dead, October 22nd, 1999,
by Roger Ebert. The speaker is Frank, a paramedic whose journeys into the abyss of human misery provide the canvas for Martin Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead. There may be happiness somewhere in the city, but the barking voice on Frank's radio doesn't dispatch him there. His job is to arrive at a scene of violence, or collapse, and try to bring not only help, but encouragement. "Do you have any music?" he asked the family of a man who seems dead of a heart attack. "I think it helps if you play something he liked." As the old man's Sinatra album plays in the background, he applies the defibrillator to his chest and shouts clear. The corpse jumps into life like a movie monster. The psychology is sound. Sinatra may not bring the dead back to life, but he will give the family something to do, and the song will remind them of their dad's happier times. Frank is played by Nicolas Cage, seen in the movie's close-ups with his eyes narrowed in pain. He cruises the streets of Hell's Kitchen with a series of 3 co-pilots in a 3-day stretch during which he drifts in and out of sanity. He has hallucinations of an 18-year-old homeless girl named Rose, whose life he failed to save, whose death he wants to redeem. Like Travis Bickle, the hero of Scorsese's Taxi Driver, Frank travels the night streets like a boatman on the River Styx, while steam rises from manholes as if it's from the fires below. Travis wanted to save those who did not want saving. Frank finds those who desperately want help, but usually he is powerless. The movie is based on a novel by Joe Connelly, himself once a New York paramedic. The screenplay by Paul Schrader is another chapter in the most fruitful writer-director collaboration of the last quarter century, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The Last Temptation of Christ. The film wisely has no real plot, because the paramedic's days have no beginning or goal, but are a limbo of extended horror. At one point, Frank hallucinates that he is helping pull people's bodies up out of the pavement, freeing them. To look at Bringing Out the Dead, to look, indeed, at almost any Scorsese film, is to be reminded that film can touch us urgently and deeply. Scorsese is never on autopilot, never panders, never sells out, always goes for broke. To watch his films is to see a man risking his talent, not simply exercising it. He makes movies as well as they can be made, and I agree with an observation on the Harry Knowles website. You can enjoy a Scorsese film with the sound off, or with the sound on and the picture off. Now look at Bringing Out the Dead. 3 days in Frank's life. The first day, his co-pilot is Larry, John Goodman, who deals with the grief by focusing on where his next meal is coming from. To Larry, it's a job, and you can't let it get to you. Day 2, Frank works with Marcus, Ving Rhames, who is a gospel Christian and uses emergencies as an opportunity to demonstrate the power of Jesus. Bringing one man back to life, he presents it as a miracle. He drives as if he hopes to arrive at the scene of an accident by causing it. On the 3rd day, the day Christ rose from the dead, Frank's partner is Walls, Tom Sizemore, who is coming apart at the seams and wreaks havoc on hapless patients. Haunting Frank's thoughts as he cruises with these guys are 2 women. One is Rose, whose face peers up at him from every street corner. The other is Mary, Patricia Arquette, the daughter of the man who likes Sinatra. After her dad is transferred to an intensive care unit, his life, such as it is, consists of dying and being shocked back to life 14 times one day. Mary is a former druggie, now clean and straight. And Frank, well, I was going to say he loves her, but this isn't one of those autopilot movies where the action hero has a romance in between the bloodshed. No, it's not love. It's need. He thinks they can save each other. Scorsese assembles the film as levels in an inferno. It contains some of his most brilliant sequences, particularly 2 visits to a high-rise drug house named the Oasis, where a dealer named Cy, played by Cliff Curtis, offers relief. Mary goes there one night when she cannot stand any more pain, and Frank follows to save her. That sets up a later sequence in which Frank treats Cy while he is dangling near death. All suffering ends at the same place, the emergency room of Our Lady of Perpetual Mercy, nicknamed Perpetual Mercy, where the receiving nurse, Mary Beth Hurt, knows most of the regulars by name. Nicolas Cage is an actor of great style and heedless emotional availability. He will go anywhere for a role, and this film is his best since leaving Las Vegas. I like the subtle way he and Scorsese embody what Frank has learned on the job, the little verbal formulas and quiet asides that help the bystanders at suffering. He embodies the tragedy of a man who has necessary work and is good at it, but in a job that is never, ever over. Bringing Out the Dead is an antidote to the immature intoxication with violence in a film like Fight Club. It is not fun to get hit. It is not redeeming to cause pain. It does not make you a man when you fight, because fights are an admission that you are not smart enough to survive by your wits. Fight Club makes a cartoon of the mean streets that Scorsese sees unblinkingly.
I was. Hard to explain. She had a hard time adjusting to, well, I mean, maybe it was my fault too.
White cock!
Is it always this bad in here? How does anybody survive? God.
It's been bad lately, but it's always bad.
How long have you been doing this?
5 years.
Wow, you must have seen some things, huh?
Well, no, I mean, you sort of learn to block it out, you know. It's like cops fencing off a crime scene. But then something good will happen. Everything just glows.
I did find it curious, so soon after Ebert worked with Tom and Nicole, that Scorsese was working with Nick and Patricia, but look, she's terrific, so I was happy that she was in it. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is the scene where we're talking about pizza. And there is a sequence of shots where they go. That was because I said to Scorsese, it's in the book, it's in Connelly's book, he's talking about how he wants to look at her from every side, every angle, and then he went and he put it in, and it's one of the standout moments.
I didn't want to be a nun, I wanted to run away. Well, Sister Mary the junkie, it didn't really matter to me. You know, I better go check on my father.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks for the pizza, I owe you one. Maybe when he gets better, when we're through with all this.
Sure.
Bringing Out Scorsese, October 21st, 1999, by Roger Ebert. Martin Scorsese's new movie, Bringing Out the Dead, is one of his best. That means a lot when you are arguably the greatest active American director. The film, which opens Friday, stars Nicolas Cage as a paramedic whose runs through Hell's Kitchen are like a bus route through Dante's Inferno. I telephoned Scorsese earlier this week, plunging once again into his rapid-fire Walter Winchell dialogue. To deconstruct his verbal riffs into the forms of a traditional interview would lose the music. Here are some of the notes he hit. 1. The first things I thought of when I read Joe Connelly's book were Nick Cage's face and his eyes. His Uncle Francis had us meet a few years ago. You know, you meet some people, sometimes you don't want to spend 5 months with them on set. Well, this guy seemed to be polite. He was a nice guy to be around. Brian De Palma told me he was great to work with, too. I know his films over the years. He's inventive, and he goes from an expressive style almost like silent film, like Lon Chaney, whom he adores, to something extremely internal. So I thought of him immediately for this. 2. Some people keep asking, gee, New York looks a little different now. And I say, but you're looking at the surface. This is not about New York. This is about suffering. It's about humanity. It's about what our part in life is. This whole thing about how New York is changing, getting better, it goes in cycles. Some people are saying the movie is representative of New York in the early 1990s. It's different now. I say it's not so. We were there. We were shooting in that area. They were out. They were there. Those people. And if some of them aren't on the streets, believe me, they gotta be someplace. I saw some of the places where they are. You don't want to know what it's like. It's underneath the city in a hole, under the railroads. It's the end of life. It's the dregs. It's down. You can't get any lower. 3. The Nick Cage character has 3 co-pilots, a different partner every night. John Goodman is probably in the best shape. Goodman basically worries about where he's going to eat, takes a few minutes off, takes a nap. Ving Rhames, he gets religion. But the thing about Ving's character is that you can't make him work more than 2 nights or he gets overexcited. And then, of course, the Tom Sizemore character. He's a paramilitary. He's in there. He knows what to do when he gets there, but freaks out from time to time. 4. The people they're carrying in their ambulance. I saw it like that in the Bowery. I saw it happening to some of the people in my old neighborhood. I grew up with them. Some of them, when they weren't drinking, were kind of nice. They worked for people in the grocery store. But when they got drunk, there was no dealing with them. And people would just become frustrated and hit them. I saw it happen all the time. That title, Bringing Out the Dead, Joe Connelly chose that title with a sense of humor. It's based on a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You remember? Bring out your dead, John Cleese tells them. He takes out one person and the guy says, I'm not dead yet. He says, don't be a baby, come on. Remember? He puts him on the cart. He says, well, he's very ill. He's going to die any second.
I'm not sick, all right? I just need a drink.
7. When you bring somebody back to life, you feel like God. You are God. But one has to get past the idea of the ego and the pride. Hey, the job isn't about bringing people back to life. It's about being there. It's about compassion for the suffering and suffering with them. 9. Helen Morris, his wife, a book editor, told me last night there was a big deal on the web about the New York Times walking out of the movie. But it wasn't a critic. It was Bernie Weinrob, their Hollywood columnist. And I said, well, Bernie, I know him a little bit. He likes Casino. He hurt us very badly on Age of Innocence in an article he wrote in the Times, where he complained about us having a big budget, and he hit Daniel Day-Lewis and Michelle Pfeiffer for not taking less than their usual fee. By the way, they did take less. I don't know how much, but they did. We were compared unfavorably to Remains of the Day and pictures like that because they're made for a good price, and we're wasting money. And that was it. They gave us $32 million. We went a little bit over budget, but not a lot, and $32 million was the average amount for a film being made at that time. If somebody wanted to give us $30 million and somebody else wanted to give us $32 million, give me the 32. That's not a Scorsese impression, but I just want to kind of read it with the animation I thought he had in there. And finally, number 10. I'm still going to make Dino, the Dean Martin picture with Tom Hanks. We're going to hopefully do it right after Gangs in New York, which I've been trying to get done for years. Jay Cox and I have been rewriting the script since January. We got Leonardo DiCaprio, and we may have Bob De Niro to play the arch villain, hero villain, whatever. It's taken 10 months to make the deal, mainly because it's a lot of money in the film, and you got to be careful, and you have to get the right amount of star power in it. It's only become real since, like, Monday of last week. We're ready to go. And then deal with Dino right after, I hope. Tom Hanks and I were speaking about it only a couple of weeks ago.
She's facing in great pain. Thank you. Thank you for the translation. What's your name? Nombre.
Maria,
Okay,
Maria,
Maria.
por favor.
All right, hon, let's have a look.
Dios mío.
Está bien, Maria.
You two know each other a long time?
Yeah, 2 years ever since we left the island.
Now, this is a personal question, but I gotta ask it. In all that time, you never had sex?
No, never.
You know, maybe you had a couple of beers one night last summer. You know how it works, son.
No, never. No.
The scenes with Ving really elevate the whole piece. There's a pop to them, there's a spark to them. And I remember Ving and I just talking, and we got on the subject of religion a little bit, and because how can you not with this kind of subject matter? But I had been to Ireland, it was when I was researching Leaving Las Vegas, and I went out all around Ireland, went to the cliffs of Moher, and the story was that a young lady had tried to commit suicide and jump off the cliff. And true story, the wind literally blew her back up on the cliff. And he said, no, that was Jesus. And I said, no, that was, I mean, okay, I mean, you know, but it's the wind blew her back up. And Scorsese heard that, just us shooting the shit, you know. And he goes, no, put that in the movie. Let's say that, put that on camera.
Open the door!
I mean, they all were very thick-skinned, of course. And it's only, it only broke through on one night when they saved a preemie from a 5th floor walk-up. And they came and it was all rush. Rush will probably me down the stairs to get it into the thing, get it over to the ER. And it lived. And the first time I really saw joy on the part of all these ER people. We won one tonight, and somebody says to me, this is why we do it.
I think. Nothing.
Give me an IV line.
Call X-ray.
Ivazine. Give me epinephrine.
How long has she been down?
About 10 minutes.
Frank thinks he's been abandoned by God. He's been cut off from God. The fact that everybody keeps dying on him means he's doing something wrong, and he's cut out from any kind of salvation. And so he's lost forever in the night, in that ambulance, driving up and down, the Upper West Side and, the Chelsea area and all the worst aspects of the city at night.
Don't give me that look.
What look?
You know what look. It's all over your face. That I just saved a little baby boy look.
We just saved a little bouncing baby boy. Think of it that way.
I don't want to hear about it, okay? That's 3 jobs for the night. It's over. 3 jobs. Time for a drink. 6 a.m., the cocktail hour. All right, so pass the bottle. I know you're holding.
The bar is now open.
I hate Jen.
You know, when I had that little baby in my hands, I felt like I was 21 again. Call like that makes me want to go back to working 3 nights a week, not 2. Start running again, cut down on my drinking.
Don't drink to that.
Here's to the greatest job in the world.
The greatest job in the world.
6'2" Young, I have priorities holding. Pick up the radio.
Don't do it, Marcus, please. Tell her the bus died. Tell her the radio's not working. Tell her our backs are out. Just tell her we're too drunk to take any more calls. Okay?
Let's take it.
No.
6'2" Young, this is Marcus. Only for you, baby. Only for you.
Keep it to yourself, Young. Male dip breather, approximately 30, West End and 72nd.
10-4, hon. I'm coming, baby. Big Daddy Marcus is coming. We coming. No. We coming. No. Run our message.
He doesn't overturn the van on purpose. It was an accident. I don't think he's in despair, and I don't think he gives into it.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
No, Frank quits. Marcus, no, his life goes on, and he's experienced what Frank has been through, and he's found a way to deal with it and to grow from it.
I quit. I'm through. Oh, you think just because you quit, them ghosts gonna quit too? It don't work that way, Frank. I've been there, son. You need the Holy Ghost, Frank. The Holy Ghost.
No.
Marty is very prepared, and you feel his ease with the camera, and like he really knows what he's doing and what shot he's going to use at what point in the scene. But it is sort of like he has a camera in his head. I can't say enough how great it is of an experience as an actor to show up on a set where someone is open and inviting. I've never really seen anything like it. The crew's very sort of quiet and very respectful, and really in awe sort of him and working with him. I think it's sort of most illuminating the way that he sort of opens up to what an actor's bringing to the table and watches it and looks at it and kind of respects it in a way, makes room for it, and it's not so much a judgment as a sort of guidance and openness.
I'm in that waiting room for hours and I'm listening to Noel screaming. And the only reason that he's screaming is because he's tied up!
Don't seem so bad to me.
Don't say that. I almost cut my father loose, too. One minute they tell me that he's almost dead. The next minute they tell me he's better, and I go in and... It's killing me seeing him fight like that. Well, since you're here, maybe you could do me a favor and, just wait for me outside this building, so I gotta go visit a friend who's sick.
Okay.
I'm only asking you because this is a dangerous building and there's been some robberies and a woman was raped not long ago. And this woman I'm seeing, she's just gonna want to sit and talk with me all day, but if I can point you out the window and tell her that you're waiting, then she'll let me out quick. If anything happens, I'm in 16M.
Maybe I should come up with you.
If I'm not back in 15 minutes, just hit the buzzer, and that way she'll let me go.
That's what's gonna happen. I'll come with you.
I'm okay. I'm just visiting a friend who's sick.
Shouldn't have asked you to come.
You asked me not to come.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Brand new episode for 2019 of the Medic Up podcast. And it's a good one today. You're not going to want to miss it. And I am absolutely one of the luckiest people in the medical podcast arena, if you even want to call it that, to have my guest on today. And my guest is going to be Mr. Joe Connelly, the author of Bringing Out the Dead.
You know, I always wanted to be a writer since I was a kid, and I dropped out of college and traveled around the country doing a lot of odd jobs. And I ended up, I was in Tenning Bar in Dublin in Ireland, and I was reading this book called The Razor's Edge by Somerset Maugham about this ambulance driver in World War I Italy. And I said, wow, that might be an interesting thing to do. I figured not only would I be helping people out, doing something interesting, but it would give me food to write about, life and death, which I thought were important knowledge for any writer to have. So I left Dublin and I came back and started writing with New York City EMS. You know, the book started out, I guess, a couple years into riding those streets in New York and seeing things that no one else I thought was seeing, and I started just writing down stories. They were just first-person stories about Joe Connelly. Those first 2 years at EMS, I think I had done too good a job of walling off the darkest stuff, because you have to find a wall in order to keep doing your work. And I developed a guy named Frank Pierce, who has no walls and is basically a mirror of what he sees.
When the book opens and the movie even opens, they put that kind of the lead in it says this film takes place in the early 90s. And that, to me, I was just getting my start, only starting to do ride-alongs as a explorer in 92, 93, and got my EMT in 96. Seeing the film and being aware of the book, you know, realizing that was taking place. And you say, you know, the first 2 years, you know, you have to kind of build up those type of walls when you see bad stuff. Now, you know, where I was in suburban Philadelphia, I wasn't really seeing crazy stuff. And, you know, looking back now, you know, now in, you know, 21st century, 2019, it's very popular to talk about all of that stuff that you've had to wall off, or that we actually were affected by it with all the Code Green campaign stuff. And, you know, rereading the book and seeing the film every once in a while, I mean, it's like, wow, you know, did he know he was kind of laying the groundwork for what everybody is kind of suffering or has the potential to suffer, you know, having human emotion and having that first person being exposed to it every shift or for, you know, extended periods of time.
Yeah, no, clearly I suffered from some PTSD during that time. And yes, the book, looking back now, it's almost a piece of historical fiction. The city has changed so much, and back then in the late 80s when I was going, you know, there was record homicide rates, and there was the AIDS epidemic, which is really hard to explain unless you were down there in Midtown and on that west side during those years. You know, it was truly like a plague. You know, it was an extreme situation with just a lack of EMS personnel and vehicles and just everything seeming to be breaking down. And my goal was to really push the reader over 3 days and push that narrative and that congestion of calls, so that by the end of those 3 days, that reader is sitting in that ambulance with you. And I think the movie was very ambitious in trying to do the same thing. But, I mean, some of the things that happen and the PTSD and the different ways in which stress comes out and surfaces and needs an outlet in everybody who works this job, whether it's in the suburbs or rural, where I am now. I think it's an important conversation to have, and I'm glad that it is being discussed now in a way it wasn't back then. And
Like I've said, everybody I think and who's been in the job for any period of time really is either relating to the characters or, I mean, I've said for a long time, I think anybody on the ambulance has known one of those characters, has known a Tom Walls, has known a Marcus. Like, I can peg those at my service like perfectly. And then, I think also people say, well, oh, I'm a paramedic. I've seen a lot of bad stuff. I am Frank Pierce. And it's like, well, maybe I don't think I'm Frank Pierce. I think I'm more Larry. I'm more of a Larry. It's going to be Chris calling the shots one day, and the priority being I can't eat the same thing twice in 2 nights.
I've heard several paramedic schools that make the book a part of their required reading. It's tough when people, I tell people about the book. I always say I'm not Frank, but I mean I think a part of me is, and I think part of all of us who do it for any length of time have those nights in which nothing works, and you just don't seem to get that good call that comes along and wipes everything out. But I would say that, Frank really, in a lot of ways, he's not a real character in that he doesn't have any walls. And I purposely set him out there to feel everything. And in the end of the book, I consider it a happy ending, but it's a pretty simple concept. He just goes to sleep. He just finally gets a good night's sleep to go and start the next day. It's interesting being on the movie set and actually seeing Nicolas Cage play Frank. And there's a couple times in which I actually stood in for the character of Rose, and seeing him staring at me as if I was her, the character of the woman, the girl he couldn't save. That was probably more, I guess, redemptive than anything during the writing of the book. And honestly, the book was about 500 pages at one time. There were so many stories I wanted to get in, and a lot of them just got in the way of the narrative and the drive, I was trying to take place. And so, even though I took those pages out, I still wanted to keep some of those stories in and those people in. And really, part of the book is about saving lives, not, in deeds, but in words. And that even the people we lose, we kind of save them in our heads, We keep a place for them all.
Decisions made by production designers are key to the quality of work that I'm going to do. My first experience working with Dante Ferretti was on Casino. And one of the reasons we slipped towards that desaturated feel was he was evaluating mostly black and white images, not color images. And so in his head, he was willing, whereas in Casino, the colors pop, they blow out. Dante is the best production designer I've worked with in my life. For the scene with the snow, Marty said, we're going to shoot it in reverse. Now, I'd never done reverse. I mean, I played with reverse, but not to do a whole scene. I'm thinking, how do you do reverse? They're going to do the dialogue in reverse. They memorize it. As it goes one way, then you play it back, and they learn how to say it that way.
We're in the stomach. Sure?
If you watch it, the snow's going up. It was remarkable how brilliant it was.
You're in the stomach, man. You're in the stomach again. Let me try. One more time.
Rose.
Huh?
My name. Rose.
If there is a real star that emerges from Bringing Out the Dead, it's Bob Richardson. I mean, his camera work is virtuoso. It's dazzling. It's original. He is hands down the greatest cinematographer I've ever worked with. I'd love to work with him again. The scene where, before I'm going into the Edvard Munch scream, which is definitely stolen from the Edvard Munch, and I was listening to John Lennon's Cold Turkey, I was putting all that into it. Before that, you have a sequence where everything is in reverse, played forward. I had never done anything like that in a movie before, and Scorsese told me we were going to do that. And there's just, it's so subtle, but there's little ways you can see it. The snow is going upwards. Goodman's going like this, but we had to rehearse it all backwards. Even the dialogue was backwards. And so you get some of that backward speaking played forwards, but the walking and the Rose's jerky movement, Roman's jerky movement, all that was all thought out. And you think about, really the genius of that. That sequence really is something I've never seen in a movie before, and I've never seen it in a Scorsese movie before. And this is part of the reason why I think this is one of Scorsese's best movies.
Did he tell you about Day Rise Enterprises helping people? Well, I've seen him hurt people.
Yes, Steve.
Nick, we shall make every one of these seconds count, 3.5 minutes.
That's right.
But I have to start by saying congratulations on a fantastic performance.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
It's nice to hear that.
Nick, there is just so much heavy stuff going down in this movie, and you're working for the first time in a film with your wife,
That's
Patricia
right.
Arquette. Now, when the two of you went home or went to wherever it was you were staying, could you shake it off, or how were you? How did you unwind?
Well, the truth is, I believe that when you're doing your job well, you have to have some spirit of play, that you have to have some sense of joy in it, or it just gets enveloped in doom and gloom. So when I went home with Patricia, we were so excited, so up about working together, about working with Martin Scorsese, that it really wasn't a downer. It was, wow, I really liked when you did that, and I liked when you did this, and it was a great time in our lives, I feel.
She told me a great little anecdote about working with Martin Scorsese and how different he was from other directors, and told her to take her time. She was trying to get through a scene, go off, work on it. For you, was there any particular moment when you thought, my gosh, this is working with Martin Scorsese?
Well, every day. I mean, every day I was thrilled about that. But what I observed about him, and I've been doing it for 20 years, so I really wanted to learn something, and I felt I could learn something working with Martin. And what I learned was that no matter what, no matter how often you do it, you don't lose your passion for it. This man, who is a master filmmaker, he still has the passion, the awe, the joy of a student who's trying to discover new and better things constantly. He's never bored or fed up with it. I mean, he will talk to you at length about any movie you want. And that kind of passion is what I hope to continue in my own career, in my life. And just stylistically working with him, because he's Martin Scorsese, he has a standard of excellence, and you want to rise to that standard. So it's a great, impetus to do your best.
When you were writing with paramedics in both New York and L.A., you said that L.A. was worse than, that you saw worse things in L.A. than you did in New York. When you were on those rides with the real paramedics, were you ever scared?
Yes, I was terrified. When they say to you, please put your bulletproof vest on in a calm and orderly fashion, you don't know what you're going to get into, and there was no turning back. And I went to drive-by shootings. I saw slashing victims. I saw, the worst was children who couldn't breathe, and these things stay with you. They haunt you. I'm not going to say that this doesn't exist in New York. I think it probably does. I just didn't see it when I was there.
But having seen the real thing, then when you did the movie, knowing that it was movie stuff, did you have a different feeling?
Well, again, I had this feeling of joy that I was creating. I always have that feeling, and I also had the comfort of knowing that I could go home at the end of the day if I needed to tap into that. These guys who are doing it for real, they don't have that comfort. They go home and then all the images come back to haunt them. That's what they said to me, at least. But in the work process, you know, you do have to try to lose yourself in the moment at some point so it becomes more real. And that can eventually add up, and you have to step back from that.
Well, I tell you, it gave me a whole new appreciation for paramedics.
That's a good thing to know.
Absolutely.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, what a great number of performances.
Thank you.
Everybody in it is just wonderful, and you're at the top of the list.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nick.
All right.
Great to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, well, Martin Scorsese, I'm going to get you to pronounce your name. Every star has pronounced it differently.
I know, Scorsese.
Scorsese?
Yes, yes.
All right,
That's the way we say it. Now, other people say Scorsese. Sometimes they spell it with a C also. And that's wrong, but I think the French are doing that. I think, hey, we found out maybe it's a French spelling or something. But I found out that actually the word my name comes from the word Scorsese, Scozzeze, which means Scotsman.
Ah, all right. Anyway, we now have that settled.
Yes.
Martin, of all the things that you had to be concerned about as director of this film, what concerned you the most?
I think what concerned me the most was we're dealing with a subject that at first glance you'd say is may be repellent to the viewer. Maybe it's too upsetting for the viewer. And I was very, very careful in how I showed this world that these men and women work in. And that's one level of it, the actual showing of what we did, the actual imagery that I chose. But the other thing was working it all through the eyes of Frank Pierce, the young man played by Nick Cage, who's undergoing this crisis in his life. Whether or not he makes any difference at all in life. He's out there on a mission of compassion and mercy, and nothing seems to be working anymore. The more people he helps, the more people get hurt. You know, and does he make a difference anymore? And was to see it through his eyes and to let the audience feel it through his being. And then, of course, the other people around him, John Goodman character, the Ving Rhames character, and the Tom Sizemore character, with the sense of humor that one develops under these terrible circumstances to help them get through life, you know. But it was really to keep it human, to see it through Frank's eyes, and not to make it unnecessarily repellent. That was the main thing.
The ghost thing, did that bother you at all? Was that a big concern?
Well, I think the fact that he's seeing ghosts, quote unquote, he's hallucinating. There's no doubt. He isn't sleeping. He's drinking a bit. Towards the end of the picture, drinks a little more. In fact, he was seeing things. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And Mr. Burke, the man who is in the hospital, he hears Mr. Burke's voice talking to him. He really hears his voice. He needs a break, Frank Pierce. He needs rest. And the ghost, the young girl, Rose, that he keeps seeing, represents all the people that he lost, that he couldn't save on the street. And that's why I thought that Rose was so important. I know I've been in situations where you're moving very quickly, even on a movie set, where I swear I see somebody and I say, I thought that was... I've seen, for a second, saw like my father. My father's been dead for 8 years, you know. But I turn around, and of course, I take another look. It's the person who looks like him, you know. But imagine that, under the stress of working at night, in an ambulance, playing the siren, red and white lights flashing, and you do see your dead relative, you do see your dead parent. This is just the one little push that he needs to make him begin to go over the edge.
Martin, thank you for your time today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Marty enjoyed it, so he began to let go and say, well, what can we try here? He was very interested in progressing and not just doing things that have a specific intent like that did, but things that are more experimental. And I did some work by myself in second unit with the cabs with Joe Reedy, the AD. We went out and shot the streets and, you know, set up lights, camera positions for the lights. And it was a bit of a liberating experience that way. This film wasn't attempting to be a realistic portrayal in the straightest of ways. It was more within the brain, but the lighting was attempted to take you into that. We had a lot of lights. so that I could call out over the headsets to move the light in, up, down, here, there, to try to punctuate something. The gaffer, we would work side to side, frontal, backs, colors and whirly gags. It's like I had a circus on a trailer. I have to operate a camera. I want to look through the lens. I don't want to look at a monitor as we do today, a lot of people do today. And also with film, you couldn't take your eye off the eyepiece. Then light would pass through and fog the film. So you always had your eye there, and because you're closing one eye and one eye is working, you enter a zone much more rapidly. So whenever my eye touched the eyepiece, I was in the film.
What? I can't. Oh, I see. With all the poor people of this city who wanted only to live and were viciously murdered, you have the nerve to sit here wanting to die and not go through with it? You make me sick! Take it! Take it! We cured him!
There's nothing we can't do if we just work together.
I told you to stop for coffee.
Thanks a lot.
Victor, you're going to the bus terminal.
Sounds like they're trying to clean up the bus terminal tonight.
Come on, units, update your signals. 66 X-ray. Over 1 hour in the ER. Let's go.
Hello?
I did, ride in an ambulance with some real EMS guys, a couple of nights, 2 or 3 nights really. When it was quiet, there's a listlessness that happens, and there's a kind of boredom, and then suddenly, bam, you're off on a job. And it's life or death, and you got to get there, and it may depend on you.
Come on, Tom, the city's burning.
You have to break through traffic jams with the sirens and pushing other cars out of the way, and finally, bam, you go and hang on. It was like riding a stagecoach. When you go that fast, the imagery gets distorted. It's nighttime. You begin, they're like aggressive visual assaults, and coming from every which way. It became that way where we were shooting too, because I was in the back of this ambulance while we were shooting all the time, because we decided to shoot everything in the ambulance for real, not use a soundstage in any way, and not use blue screen. And so the ambulance, in order to do another take, we had to go around only certain streets. We were only allowed to go certain streets. So if we did one run for 2 pages of dialogue, and when there was a cut, we had to wait for the ambulance to come all the way around again, go back down to its position, with the police helping us, etc., or not, under the circumstances, whatever they decided at which point and what's going on in the city that night, and then do another run. So it wasn't like take 2 immediately.
Man smells real bad. Do I have to say more? But you've said too much already.
Mr. O!
He knew I was a fan of Lon Chaney, and he showed me an early version of Phantom of the Opera, which had a color sequence. This is before Wizard of Oz.
I didn't necessarily make the comparison to Lon Chaney Sr., by the way. He did. But Chaney did have a mastery of his body and body language and expressions on his face, and he knows his films so well. So he works really on that toward a level of a kind of expressionistic physicality, which is very rare among actors, at least to bring off. Put it that way, he does. And then at the same time, he's working internally. So he's really remarkable. So I was watching this guy do all this, and it was so, really, he'd try anything and do anything. It was so courageous.
They offered us money for no rig, so I deputized them.
Gay marriages, back-to-you slot machines, rape condoms, Mexican divorces, your sex clubs and martinis.
Well, let's talk about bringing out the dead. I mean, that's a lot of tough stuff going on there, John.
It was, wasn't tough, it wasn't too bad. It was a lot of fun to work with Mr. Scorsese and with Nicolas Cage. We worked together about 15 years ago, and it was good to be back with him.
Raising Arizona.
It's nice to work with a man who has so much knowledge, so much love for what he does, and is able to realize these frightening visions that he has in his head and put him on the screen. He's a real artist, and can't really say that about a lot of people.
You play a paramedic, of course, and you're driving like bats out of hell all through New York City.
Yeah, it was, we were towed a lot, but some of the driving stuff they had me do, they cut out, which was, it scared the heck out of me the first 2 times I did it, and I didn't think I could do it, but once I got the adrenaline rush, I wanted to keep it going. But it was, when I saw the movie, I was surprised at how much it just took off on its own, and it made me miss the nutty hours and the driving around and the stuff that we did in Manhattan in the middle of the night.
Was there never a camera car towing or?
Oh yeah, sure.
Sometimes.
Yeah, a lot. Couldn't really tell that though.
No, you could not.
And yeah, I got to do my own stunt driving sometimes.
And no mishaps? You didn't crash or anything?
No, not me. I didn't wreck the bus. Ving wrecked the bus. Ving wrecks the bus. I don't know how they did that. That scared the heck out of me. When in the movie, there's a scene where they crash an ambulance, and it just I jumped out of my seat about 10 feet. It's a great movie.
And you said, "Hey guys, this is movie making. Yeah. This is not the demolition derby."
I don't know how they did that.
So, had you ever worked for Martin Scorsese before?
No, I auditioned for him 10 years ago for a movie and wound up not doing it. But I'd always wanted to. Figured this may be my last chance, but so I grabbed it, and I'm glad I did. I'm just so happy with it.
Has Nicolas changed much since Raising Arizona days?
It's hard to say because we never really hung out or anything back then, and I never saw him since. So it's like, I guess so. Everybody changes. You have to be nuts. He's, I think, more mature as an actor. He's still got his own unique style, and he's always interesting to watch.
Well, I would say you're always interesting to watch too, John. Good actor, great performance, all of you, wonderful performances.
Yeah, it's a good ensemble piece.
So thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
And say a few thousand words for the Cowboys. We need your help.
Yeah, so it would appear.
All right, I'm in. You in?
I am now.
He happens to fall. I don't think anybody be crying too much.
They're gonna torch the fence. You're gonna feel the metal getting warm. Maybe very warm.
I can't hold my head up anymore.
Hold this.
Oh. So, Frank, am I gonna live?
You're gonna live.
All right. That $10 you owe me?
Yeah.
Keep it. I've been thinking about things, Oh, you guys give me lots of time to meditate on the future. What you do, huh? Stop the Chinese on the way over here?
I was tired and I needed a coffee.
What about Kenita?
Dead.
That's too bad. See, Frank, make some money.
Cliff Curtis is a wonderful actor. He plays his character, a drug dealer in the film, and he winds up impaled on a fence 20 stories above the city. Apparently it happens a lot. I don't know, he fell off the balcony in a fight or whatever, and he wound up impaled. And we shot some of that, of course, on a soundstage because of the background, naturally. But there was an actual stuntman, too, shot from below, hanging off a building at 20 stories. At the end with the fireworks. Well, that was the key thing. It was sort of my homage to a movie I like a lot called Manhattan, except it wasn't a man and woman sitting on the bench by the 59th Street Bridge, with the fireworks. So I really love that film. And I said, well, what if the fireworks are while he's impaled on the fence? And the fireworks are going off all over the city, and he screams, "I love this city." The blood coming through his ribs.
I love
city.
Good thing we clipped you in, huh, Frank?
What about me? Who buckled me in?
I thought you did. No, I thought you did. I'm sorry about that, sir.
Yeah, right. Oh, stop jerking my pole!
All right, I got a fence up my ass, all right? I need something for the pain.
We shot the emergency room scenes in Bellevue in a deserted section of the hospital, which was on the ground floor. And we built the set. We built the set down there too. And I met a doctor there whose office was only a few stories above us, and he actually showed me the section of the fence that they took out of this guy. So he kept it as a showpiece in his office. That was the incident that inspired that scene in the movie.
Don't do it.
Volume's in.
How many times have you shocked him tonight?
14. Finally got him a room up in ICU. We should be up there in a couple hours.
What are you gonna do? Just have somebody follow him around with a defibrillator?
That's a good one, Frank. No, but we might surgically implant one around the shoulder over here, about the size of my thumb. 2 electrodes connected to the heart. Sends a shock whenever he needs it. Or we could just send him home with a defibrillator. He could do it himself.
I've always been interested in how one behaves in a compassionate manner to others. I grew up with the homeless and the alcoholics and all the derelicts, really. And I was sort of split between a decent family and the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, like the dregs. They've become non-persons. They just wait to die. And you see them in the street dying every day. And there was a conflict in me, and probably still is, as to how one feels compassion towards a person like that, but is also repelled by it. And that's one of the reasons I did the picture. For me, the story was so good, and the predicament of the dilemma that Frank Pierce, Nick Cage's character, is in, was something that I thought was really worth exploring.
Joe Connelly, who wrote the novel Bringing Out the Dead, was very much, in my opinion, like Frank.
It's all based on real stories, and the crisis, the spiritual crisis, is real. To write something so moving and so truthful and so compassionate, you've had to have lived through it.
Frank Pierce is a man who wants to save people. He began life as a paramedic with a feeling of a superpower, that he can heal, that he can save. But all of us know that bad things happen to good people all the time, and we can't save everybody. And I think he's having a real conflict with that.
His face and his eyes are extraordinary, and I see that he's also a bold actor. He isn't afraid to go out and go over the top, in a sense, still within a truthful way, and keep it truthful, keep it real.
I was working with a tremendous cast. I was re-teaming again with people like Ving Rhames and John Goodman. I've now made 3 movies with Ving, and I'm always impressed by his commitment to acting. He's a very serious actor.
I do my homework, I do my research, and then, quite honestly, I don't know what's going to happen on any given moment. I may deliver a line one way, and Nicolas Cage may come at me in a different way, which may cause me to do something that I don't know I'm going to do.
I've been seeing the ghosts.
You mean the people we lost? Hey, gotta go. God bless them. You get used to that, son. You ever notice people who see shit are always crazy?
I think the worst is over.
Oh, no, son. It can always get worse.
John Goodman,
is one of these actors that when I worked with him on Raising Arizona, I was aware that he had the gift of being effortless. And I never see him acting. I see him having fun. I see him relaxing and still being fascinating to watch.
It's wonderful to work with somebody who not just loves, but has a passion for his work as he does. He's one of two people that I've worked with like that just have the supreme joy of working.
Boy, some partner you are, Frank. I could have walked there faster. I'm starving and you stopped to talk to hookers. You're making me nuts. Is that what you're trying to do, drag me down a Nutsville with you?
Working with Patricia on Bringing Out the Dead was an opportunity for me to observe her in the work ethic and the work environment.
I keep thinking about how tough my father was. Well, now I know he had to be like that. To make us tough. Because this city, it'll kill you if you aren't strong enough.
Oh, the city doesn't discriminate. Gets everybody. I always knew she was a great actress, but I was thrilled and proud of her to see her on the set and to know that, you know, she's one of the generous ones.
So great to work with Nicolas. I've always been so inspired by his work, and he's so moving in this movie, and he's so full of life in this movie. How long have you been doing this?
5 years.
Wow, you must have seen some things, huh?
Well, no, I mean, you sort of learn to block it out, you know. It's like cops fencing off a crime scene. But then something good will happen. Everything just glows. What originally attracted me to Bringing Out the Dead was the opportunity to work with Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese was a huge influence on me growing up, wanting to become an actor.
I was looking, in a way, for a picture that I would be able to work with him on. I remember a few years ago, his uncle, Francis Coppola, asked me to meet him, so I did. We had a nice talk. And a couple of Christmases ago, Brian De Palma told me at a Christmas dinner, he said, he's really great to work with. He did Snake Eyes with him, and you should work with him.
So when I heard he was doing this, I immediately said yes.
This is the worst suicide attempt I've ever seen. You feel that pulse? Here? That's where you cut. And it's not across, it's down, like so. Here, take it.
I can't.
What?
I can't.
Oh, I see. With all the poor people of this city who wanted only to live and were viciously murdered, you have the nerve to sit here wanting to die and not go through with it? You make me sick! Take it! Take it!
I think what's very fascinating about what Connelly wrote in the book and what Schrader got in the script and Nick in the performance is the conflict within themselves of almost feeling that they are God when they bring some people back to life. They've got to get past that enormous ego and the enormous pride to get to the real heart of what they're doing, which is compassion.
You bring somebody back to life, it's the greatest thing in the world. You know, you really help somebody, you really get in there and save them before they go down. It's the best drug there is.
Saving someone's life is like falling in love. The best drug in the world. For days, sometimes weeks afterwards, you walk the street, making infinite whatever you see. Once, for a few weeks, I couldn't feel the earth. Everything I touched became lighter. Horns played in my shoes. Flowers fell from my pockets. You wonder if you become immortal, as if you've saved your own life as well. God has passed through you. Why deny it? That for a moment there, why deny for a moment there, God was you.
I didn't mean to.
You should have helped me.
I tried to help. I wanted to. Rose?
I think Frank is burnt out, has a certain perspective on life, as I think anybody would, seeing life and death the way he does on a daily basis as a paramedic, burnt out. And he hasn't saved anyone in months. He befriends Noel. And when it's his turn, finally do something and make a difference. It happens to be with someone he's grown to care for.
Get the kid! Frank! You're gonna be all right, Noel. We're gonna save you. Do it, Tom! I'll call for fucking backup, I swear!
You call for fucking backup? Fuck you!
You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it.
He's back on track after that. You know, like you could really do to make a difference. This has been such a powerful, not only emotionally, but physically demanding and role for me. And it's been great fun. You almost feel like you graduated, or like you've been baptized as an actor when Marty says, excellent. And I know for a fact that it's one of those experiences that I'll look back on.
Let him
and say,
through!
wow. It's definitely one of those.
Let him through! Bring him through!
Who got that funky motherfucker this time?
Last show of the night.
What do you got? What's... Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Nurse Crow. Anybody else hurt? No. Get him over by the counter. Get him by the counter. All right, we're gonna need an x-ray for a C-spine.
Right.
I'm gonna need respiratory down here. Crazy bastard. At least he's intubated. Won't hear him screaming tonight.
People, hear me out. Now, the path to your well-being and salvation will not be over Griss's body. You can forget about that. Because Griss gets off in 47 minutes, then he's going home and take a bath.
The other thing that's, I think, very effective in the movie, especially with Ving, who's brilliant in the movie, is the humor that these paramedics come up with to cope. It's a coping mechanism, you know, this almost, and Major Tom too, although he takes it to another level, but they have this way of coping with the constant cardiac arrest and death and the misery that they're surrounded with. I mean, you hear about these dentists that kill themselves because they don't want to hear the complaints anymore. Well, imagine a paramedic.
It's Patrick Burke here. I brought him in.
I've gone on record saying this picture is misunderstood. What I meant by that was that this is a deep character analysis, not just of Frank Pierce, but of paramedics in general, and of this little village around Hell's Kitchen, of all these people, and Mary, and even Cy, so beautifully played, Cliff Curtis. But I think it happened at a time where I was in between National Treasure and Snake Eyes, and I was sort of thought of as an adventure movie actor, and Paramount, I think, promoted it at that time, kind of like with the trailer, with the ambulance flipping. Oh, this is going to be a Nick Cage action movie, which is not what it is at all. So that's what I meant by misunderstood. What really matters is, did you tell a story that's going to stay with you, and it's going to keep bringing you back, and it's going to welcome reviewing, multiple viewing, you know? And I think Bringing Out the Dead does that.
I have a very specific relationship to hospitals. So every time I entered the hospital set, my body would light up, because as a child, I'd been in and out of hospitals over and over for my ears, tonsils, hernia, all things as a baby, radiation therapy. So walking to Bellevue was the worst possible thing you could ask me to shoot. I had an extraordinary phobia to what a hospital is because of the deep memories. What happens in your past resurfaces in your work. So I tried to capture a little bit of that feeling in terms of the sterility of the facility, the color of the lights. For me, this film was a true nightmare to shoot. In the process of making it, we were doing nights, and one morning, there was a knock on my door, not long after I'd gone to bed. And it was two friends that had been called. And they opened the door, and they said, you need to get up, you need to go home. I was like, what? Your brother just died. I went home, and I missed a few days of shooting, and you come back to a film called Bring Out the Dead, and you're still shooting. Those same ghosts that had existed for Nick were now walking in my world, and you're evaluating what just happened to me, and how does that influence what happened to, with Nick, and Goodman when they're driving, and then seeing these images aside, and Marty's world were so almost psychedelic what was taking place out there. And I easily started to relate because I could see that same ghost. The film is a masterpiece, and there's simply no question to that. But the influence of Taxi Driver and the combination of the souls that it created that movie to begin with, which was already a classic by the time you get to Bringing Out the Dead. It was dragging it like a boulder up a mountain, and it was dragging Taxi Driver up for an audience to look at and say, this is not Taxi Driver, he's not repeating himself, he's making a very unique and fresh film. The critics didn't all agree with that assessment, and it fell to the wayside and went flat. And yet, when you watch this movie now, it feels as if he could have made this recently. It fits, it's so forward in his vision, and also extraordinarily poignant in the attitude of what it is to suffer, because it is Last Temptation of Christ. He's not a prophet, but he's suffering the issues that the prophet himself would be suffering with all those that live on this planet and aren't finding redemption.
Forgive me, Rose.
It's not your fault. No one asked you to suffer. That was your idea.
There was a festival of my films, I think in Bologna, where I would have a film of mine, and then I would pair it with a film that either influenced it or is an accompaniment to it, or a film I'd like younger people to see. For Bringing Out the Dead, I chose Arquette by Carl Dreyer and The Flowers of St. Francis by Rossellini. And the Dreyer is about belief and the pain, the longing for the resurrection of the people that we've lost. And Rossellini is about the question, how do you help people? How do you give of yourself? And it's done so simply. And the answer is that you just do it one step at a time, really, what's around you. Then at a certain point, you have to recognize that you also got to take care of yourself.